That intro never gets old. I was thinking about starting a new one, Craig, but it always gets me going. That was me playing guitar, if you don't know, before on the pre-show. That was me, just me jamming out, very simply put. Uh,
Hoorah.
Welcome to the
Nice.
show. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us for another Thursday evening here. Um, yeah, we're going to talk. I mean, you saw the image I put up there. Winter has come. I mean, we're in there early. I'm busy as can be, I must say. And people are looking. The increases are coming. Those of you, if you're watching, let us know where you're watching in from. Let us know if you've seen any crazy renewals yet. Some of you with the 10 ones, 11 ones, so on and so forth. But I had a call with an employer today, 1-1 already looking, talking to some of my lovely competitors, and it's fun. Pitching, better get your pitching game up. I was studying all night. I was studying this morning, reworking the deck, tweaking the deck, getting it ready. And
Nice.
guys, winter's here. Get your butt going. Practice, practice, and more practice. We say,
Yeah, that's the reason to talk to little groups. Practice. Hey, practice on the ones that don't mean much. You can try out everything that you're thinking of doing on on all those prospect meetings. Oh, I guess that assumes you have prospect meetings. So that's
shout,
it. That's how you
shout
use it.
out to John Mellon picking up some new cases. It's fun to hear and see some of you guys winning some cases because it's
Yeah.
people that are marketing. It's funny. A lot of the advisors here, when I was doing, I would laugh when I'd find out the broker was voluntary guy or is voluntary people trying to be brokers. But I tell you what, they're the best prospectors. They just got a little learning curve on the health side. And look, a lot of people don't know anything anyway, so ain't that
Yeah.
big of a learning curve for them. If they can learn the lingo and talk in the meeting, they're having a lot of success. I got a few of them out there, and it's exciting to see. You partner up with somebody like Virtue Health will help put it all together for you. Shout out to Virtue Health, show sponsor. Check us out, virtuealliance.com, number one performing group purchasing stop loss consortium in the country. I'll put it up against anybody. Um,
I
you
had an
know,
interesting conversation today where you were just referencing, right? This guy worked for ADP for 2 years. Now he's a broker. And he said, yeah, I went to work for ADP and they had quite a training process, right? We knew how many phone calls they expected us to make a day, uh, how long our sales conversation should be, and how many we should have a week. And they tracked and they made us accountable. And I did that for 2 years. He says, and I came to work for the insurance agency, and they said, here's a list of all the companies in the region. We're not sure how clean the data is. Here's a phone.
figure it out.
Good luck. Yeah, and he's like, he was excited to talk to me, of course, and to get an insight as to, how to prospect and not have to ask for the BOR or the AOR. So yeah,
Love the payroll. If you're looking to hire, I mean, I always would message the people online from the payroll companies because they do phenomenal sales training. Especially the payroll women are really, really sharp and vicious. Some of them, man. I had a couple of friends that used to get me in accounts. Phenomenal, phenomenal training. But in our industry, there's not much. Hey,
yeah,
heads up advisor. That's why we're here every single week. For those independents, you got no sales training. We got it here. And we're going to keep reminding you because the salesman needs to be reminded more than he needs to be
yeah.
taught.
And insurance has to be sold. It isn't bought. At the end of the day,
You're selling you. I mean, look, it's a product they already have. Why change? Hey, what's the topic? Why now?
it sounds
What was,
familiar.
what was the topic again?
Yeah, why? Why change?
Creating a why. Guys,
Yeah,
I don't know if you read the Simon Sinek book. I didn't, but it relates to why do anything. Why are they going to change, right? Find out if your prospects have a problem with where they currently at, and do they have the desire to change or not? Those are the two questions, right? If you don't know you don't know the answer to those two questions, you have a problem. You've got to revamp your sales process in that first meeting. We always talk about first meetings. The most important: qualify, disqualify them, move on, right?
don't be afraid to disqualify.
We're talking to somebody who are hiring them and go, look, your job is to come in and not process You work in a quote mill. Just get them through quoting. My goal for you is to look at the quote and try to figure out every way to decline it, because it's just a waste of time. It's just going to burn so much time that we could be spending elsewhere than a waste of time opportunity. And that's what you got to do a really good job. And if you're going in, new guys, older guys, we fall in a trap, we forget, right? You go in, you're excited, you're pitching your solution, you go out of there, felt good because you talked the whole time, and then you're like, why would they change? What is their pain? And that's what we're going to talk about today is finding the pain and the reason to change. Are they willing to change? Those are all the questions that you got to ask. We got a couple here from the old Virtue Health Boot Camp manual. Those that got it, it's gold. Hang on to. Actually, did we give it out at the High Stake Advising event? I think we made
one last year we did, yeah.
Yeah, I think last year. This year, maybe we'll do an event again this year. I don't know, but
I see our stuff in print quite often from some of our attendees who post.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, if you're using it, some people don't use it. I don't understand. Make it your own. But the conversation is simple. You have to look at, what does Craig have here? Look at 3 lenses that are available: the past, the present, and the future. Now, questions to revolve around those time frames. So let's talk about. I mean, you want to say something, Craig?
What? No, go ahead. Go ahead.
2 prospects, right? So we had a prospect working on, and I knew out the gate that there wasn't really, it just didn't make sense. They were at Blue Cross, they were self-funded, they were in a competitor consortium, and it was a TPA, and they're already down a decent track. And it's like, well, why are you changing? Unless you're hate the guts of the administrator of the services, why are you changing? Well, we think the pricing was this or that. And I just knew from the beginning it was a waste of time, because there was not enough pain to make a change. This is a heavy lift. Change is a heavy lift. Whether you think it is or not, we never think it is. But put yourself in their shoes as a business owner. You got 50 things going on. You think with your 5 life employer brokerage, you have problems? Think about our prospects: 50 lives, 100 life groups. They got a lot more problems. And the money isn't as important to them as we think it is to us. 100 grand to them, after employee contributions, taxes, this and that. What do you say? It's budget dust sometimes. They don't care that much about it. So we've got to figure out in that first meeting, where the hell is the pain? Because we can't find that. We can't get them to change, because we're asking for a lot, right? You're asking them to fire their broker eventually, and then maybe even make a change in network or their self-funded health plan and go to this world they don't know. So they better have a lot of conviction on getting out of what they're in now. What do you say, Craig?
Hey, I had a conversation this morning with a cat. The broker says, hey, it's not my client. They're pretty open and willing to talk to us. They're a 10-1. I'm like, okay, it's August 18th in my mind. They're a 10-1, like 400 lives on the medical plan, self-funded ASO with a BUCA law firm. And I said,
run.
Okay, you showed them what? We did. Too late to do the PBM, too late to do this, but we figured we could do your program. I'm like, so really? You want your first introduction to be a last minute throw in to lawyers? I said, in my experience, that's a bad idea. You'd show a lot more credibility, authority, and respect if you told them, you know what, we've thought about it, and after reviewing your case, as we previously discussed, we know that there's a number of different avenues that we could take to improve your position, but due to the lack of time, what we should do is let's revisit after the first of the year, right? October 1, open enrollment, you're all done, tying up all the loose ends. Let's reconnect in January and visit it for next year. I said, I think you'll get way more credibility than the desperation of sounding like, well, there's one thing we could sell you by 10-1. I said, that's not the way you want to be positioned with lawyers. Yeah. So we said no.
Good. Yeah, move on. Get more prospects.
Yeah, disqualify. But look, the takeaway is sometimes, John, the takeaway is a really good approach for a lot of people.
Yeah, we had a call today, and they had sold, and the pre-sold our meeting to set it up, and I said, it sounds too good to be true. And obviously I addressed it on a call. I said, look, it's going to sound too good to be true, and it is that great, but at the end you'll see, look, I don't know, this is all great, but I have no idea if you can get into the program or if you qualify. There's a lot of qualifications, harder to get into our program. And I don't want to lie to you and say we're going to take you because you're interested, but it's true. It's a
Yeah.
takeaway, but it is the truth. And I said, look, it's simple. The next step is this. You got to provide this. If you're interested, here's what we require from you as an employer: strong leadership, long-term thinking, right? Willing to leave Blue Cross Blue Shield. If you're not willing to do anything, let's not waste each other's time. Take the
Yeah.
next step. We went through the program. You're, and I tried to find their why. They had, this guy was self-funded, I think, like since '79 or something crazy, right? So it's like, talk to me about some of the challenges you have. Oh, it keeps going up X amount every year. Do you understand the vertical integration of how they own everything on under the sun and how they make their money in specialty med? So let's talk about that, right? Does that interest you? Is this killing your plan? Is that something you could see implementing, right? How important is this? This is a manufacturing firm. What do we know about manufacturing? Blue collar, lower paid wages, employer pays more on the
Yeah.
benefits, more likely to change. Best groups, in my opinion, are always blue collar because the employer's taking on the lion's share. You can't cost shift. Cost shifting ends at some point. And so, they were willing to look and make a change to the total package, get them in agreement. I think they called the broker right after the call and said, hey, let's take the next steps. So, and I get brought in kind of in a pitch mode to pitch the program, but I had to I had to take some questions. I didn't know anything. The broker gave me some questions or gave me some information on them. They're a prospect actually. And
Yeah.
I said, look, before we start, let's talk a little bit about what you have going on and the challenges you're facing right now, so I can get a better idea on how this program can help you on a go forward basis. And maybe it can't, because I know you're self funded. Maybe you're already doing some amazing things. And I'll quite frankly tell you,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot. It's not a lot to move the needle here for you, as much
It,
as
it,
I'd like to win your
that's one
business.
of the best things that independent brokers can do who are competing against regionals and nationals is to say, you know what, I don't have enough facts yet. I don't know enough information about your program, how you deal with it, what your priorities are, where your challenges are, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And so I don't know if we're a fit for you yet. You know what? That just relieves tension. Most sales pitches are full of tension. And so when you create the tension by, making comments to a prospect, they're thinking, you're basically saying we don't know what we're doing here because we don't do what you're selling. And I'm not sure I like the way that makes me feel. Now, all that's unsaid, but those things can go on in a meeting. So you have to be careful about, pitching before you've established, do they have a need?
Yeah, and look, the other thing, mentioning what you said, is after I went through it and I was on with our salesperson, I said, how do you think it went? Feedback, this and that. Go through, like I said with poker, hand history review. What could you do better in the next meeting? Where did you make mistakes? You've got to keep continuing to getting better and sharper. It's all about reps. I mean, I'm getting better at guitar because I'm playing more. I'm getting more reps in, and you're building the subconscious to do certain things that you couldn't do before. And it only comes in time and in
Yeah.
practice. It's just a reality. It doesn't just, you just don't wake up smart one day and you've got it all figured it out.
Yeah.
And I definitely made a mistake here or there, nothing that I wasn't able to overcome, but I look back and from a critical sense of what could I have done better here? How could I open up more? And look, we come in a different position. We're in a pitch mode because we're already pre-sold. That you dare to talk about your product, and you got to be careful stepping on the broker's toes. And it's a different state. But as an advisor, you might as well just go in there and just you know finesse the questions. But you gotta push a little bit. You gotta push because they're used to the brokers rolling over, and
Yeah, exactly.
they're
I call
used
it challenge. You have to challenge the client or the prospect.
yeah.
It's just a question. Why are you afraid of it?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't get that.
if you're not asking them what it's costing the business, that's a problem. I mean, we can look at some questions here. Craig,
Look,
what
I had a call. I had a call yesterday with a national brokerage firm, and they had a really funny group. Exempt gets one super rich benefit. Non-exempt gets a crappy benefit, to the point that non-exempt turnover is like near 100%. Exempt turnovers 18%. Big difference. So they tell the broker, we need some creative ideas from you, right? What can we do for those non-exempt people so that we can reduce turnover? And so this is what she tells me. And I said, well, I've been around for a minute. I've been in 30 plus years in healthcare. I've been involved in literally thousands of renewals. And in my experience, when a buyer who's already established who they are by how they've set up their medical plan and their contribution says, I need you to pull a rabbit out of the hat, what I'm hearing is, can you give us anything, but it can't cost us any more money? And she started laughing. And she goes, yeah, that's who these people are. I said, okay, so is this a pitch where you just want to sound smart? They're not going to buy it. I can help you sound smart. Or do you think there's enough motivation, inspiration, desperation that they'll actually consider implementing something differently or looking at it through a different lens other than what's the cash flow timing on for us? So yeah, you have to challenge people and try and get to the bottom of what are they saying without saying it.
Yeah, and what I would, and it's just so lovely. And I've been on a lot of calls, and again, I make mistakes. I'm not saying I'm the greatest, but I've been on a lot of calls where the broker tells me something, but I find something out in the beginning of the meeting with my question that maybe didn't know about. Take this situation. Maybe he knew about this, but I wouldn't told me they were in a captive on the PNC side, right? And so that's great because I can explain, they understand it. And then
Yeah.
usually I ask, the line you would give me is, tell me about your workplace safety program. Oh, great. Tell me about the safety program for the health benefits. Crickets. He later asked me, he's like, it's interesting because what can we really do about we've got the workplace safety and we manage it aggressively and we're doing this and we're doing that. And I said, yeah, what do you do for health? Nothing. I said, yeah, that's common. We have claims on the health side because I wanted them to understand too is
Yeah.
medical captive is dramatically different from PNC because PNC don't have the claims like medical. But he had asked about cancer. What are you at? Premature babies. I said, look, there's certain claims that you're not going to be able to stop. That's the purpose of insurance. But everything else under the sun that we're going to talk about today is how can we mitigate those claims? Now, cancer, probably the hardest thing to solve. It's 50% of stop loss claims. I don't have to tell you, Craig, how complex cancer is. It's tricky. Even Tom Emmerich never had an answer for me. And you can only manage it well and try to get the best providers and hope for the best because you really don't know where it's going to lead. Premature baby. I said, look, you can't stop that one either. Don't want to add infertility treatment on your plan because 7 out of 10 become premature. We just had one. But the other things we know we can control, low hanging fruit, obviously pharmacy. Here's the things that we can help you with. Boom, right away. We've got these named drugs, right? You've got to get some of the pain out of it. Talk to me about what ones do you have? Oh, these ones I'm looking at, and they were semi-savvy because they've been self-funded a long time. Well, I'm looking at my spec report right now. This is spec report, and we got 6 members, and it seems all to be pharmacy. I said, well, there you go. Then they asked me about lasers, and we've got this cancer. What if you laser going in? And again, you slow. And this is me there just to pitch my program, and I'm getting these questions out of them later, right? And so it's all different things that you've got to do and finesse and get better in the meeting and questions. And look, you got to have some silence, right, Craig? We like silence.
Yeah.
It's okay for it to be uncomfortable.
Let them think about it.
The advisor was on the call, did a great job. He kept quiet and let the pain sit in, let the awkwardness sit in. Belford, when he would do cold calling, he says, look, first person to talk loses. Let them speak. What questions do you have? about this. Let there be silence, and then do it again. Ask
Yeah.
them again in a few minutes, and keep doing it because
Yeah.
you've got to get something, or you leave the meeting. You may feel, I pitched it. It was great,
Yeah.
but you didn't get the information you need to take the next step.
It's like you look a little uncomfortable. Is this the first time that you've, come to the realization that you can actually attack these things on a proactive basis and not just react every renewal? Have you ever had this conversation before? That would be, that would be powerful. They'll share. They will share exactly how they're feeling.
Oh yeah, I mean, we got into a lot of different things. They were asking some great questions. Again, they had a little bit more experience. How do you handle this? How do you handle that?
Yeah.
Which is ideal. Now, could some of the things we talked about, the things we talked about in the beginning, or questions, pulled them out? Yes. Maybe no. Maybe sometimes you get lucky again with the certain buyer, a little bit more savvy. But I could have just went and gone on my soapbox and pitched the whole time and felt great about it because it was a little pulling some teeth at the end. Everybody was on mute. We actually had the videos on, but again, you've gotta yank it out of them, right? Yank it out of them because if you don't, I mean, I knew some of their data, and you can tie that in. Now, what did I do? I researched the firm beforehand, manufacturing firm, supply chain, a lot of supply chain, and so we brought in the supply chain questions. Bob, I don't have to tell you, the guy's name was John. John, I don't have to tell you, I'm sure you're dealing with your own supply chain issues and the cost of supply chain right now. We pull them into the supply chain conversation, which I haven't used in a while, but it was a good fit
Yeah.
for manufacturing. And then I said, let me ask you a question. Do you negotiate with your suppliers? Do you buy supplies like this? No, of course you don't. And they laugh. And again, this is all stolen from Craig.
They laugh because it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what we do in healthcare. You're spending $13,204 per employee per year right now, and you have no idea what anything costs. And you sit back, and all you can do is look at the claims report and hope for a lower rate increase next year. And that's the healthcare world that you've known. But the good news is
Yeah.
we have solutions and options to change that, and we've been doing this a long time.
Yeah. We've got proven ways to fix these problems by reverse engineering it. They're a manufacturing company. They have engineers. We've reversed engineer how to fix the problems in this area, this area, this area. And so it's really just a function of determining, what's your priority? Are you at a point in time where, you're still making decisions based on it needs to really be convenient for us? We don't really have a long-term perspective. Or are you on the other end of the continuum going, we've been self-insured for 43 years since 1979. We've tried a lot of different things, and we're highly motivated to do something today that will impact our claims tomorrow and next year, right? So somewhere in that continuum, you're going to have a conversation about how much of a change are you willing to make? What are the consequences if you don't make the change and you keep paying, $60,000 for this prescription? What and this and that, and you go through the scenarios and you paint the picture and you make them future pace the conversation to say that would be completely unacceptable now that I know we can actually do something about it. And so you can paint the picture with them.
All right,
Hey,
real
John,
quick,
your
technology.
screen is dark.
There we go. I'm back now.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to battle where you are in a conversation because you may have a list, right? This book looks 70 pages long, and
Yeah.
you've got to be able to bounce around like a chameleon. So like they started going off into certain questions that were past these questions. I could skip these questions and go here already because they're already there. Again, this was a little bit more advanced employer. So they
Yeah.
were already there asking the right questions, asking buying questions. Are there lasers going in? How do you handle? What can we do about this claimant? I know there's name brand drugs. Is that one that you can help? They're already past these. What do you want to say? The uncertainty of what you're telling them. Okay, they're already asking, how would you fix it? And again, you're going to keep it vague. You're going to keep it high level.
Exactly. Don't fall into the trap of
Yeah.
telling them how smart you are and laying out exactly how to do it so they can call the incumbent and go, call them, do this, fix that.
And what else is good is I always bring up case, whether it be a case study or an actual client. I mean, I pulled up a pharmacy.
Exactly.
I like to use examples and real stuff. I don't pull it out of my ass and make it up. Here's an 80 life group. You're going to try to get one similar to them, right?
Yeah.
Makes them feel more warm and fuzzy. Not the same industry. I said, look, here's a perfect example of a group like your size. Heavy medication, like you mentioned that you have. Let me give you an example of what we're able to do. And I just zoom right in on it and say, here you go. $240,000 of evacuated pharmacy claims on an 80 life group. Okay.
Yeah.
If that didn't happen, that's factored in their renewal and compounded over and over. With that, we're talking about the consortium because they had looked at captives. I said, we moved away from public captives. We moved into this to require everybody. Now, if you look at a group like this, we just evacuated 240,000 of stop loss claims. Multiply that over the 100 plus members in the group, and you can see how our renewals are going to stabilize out and be a third of what everybody else is at because of this. Okay, these are the reasons why, and they understood it. They asked the right questions. Again, more
Yeah.
advanced, but you're probably not going to get that far and down with other guys. You're not going to get in that depth of a conversation. But again, you can keep it high level and dig out some pain because the earlier employer we talked about said, what's the savings? 150 grand? Is that worth the change? Well, that's a question that should have been asked earlier, but was not, right? The broker, and again, I'm not here to badmouth brokers. They didn't have to change it as a client. So, but those are
Yeah.
things, if you're dealing with a prospect, it's a client is one thing, right? You got the count. If it's a
Yeah.
prospect, you got to know that they don't give a shit about $150,000. If they don't care, if the change is too much work for the team
Yeah.
and they're printing money,
Well, if they're making a lot of money, they don't care about money.
don't care.
But try a different angle, right? So if it's a smaller company, it's 150, 200 grand, I would try average employee here in Kentucky, they're making 50 grand. So you literally could, you were talking about the turnover and you were having a problem with the retention of key people. So how meaningful would it be if you could hire, as a result of hiring us, you could bring on 3 full-time employees for free? No cost. Would that relieve a lot of pressure on the manufacturing line? You could bring in somebody there and just change the conversation up so it doesn't sound so pedantic that I've got $3 million healthcare budget at 150 grand. Hey, 3 full-time employees for free. How meaningful would that be? Just mix it up, find something that makes it more relevant to the buyer.
Yeah, I know we sound repetitive on most shows, but these questions work. Our business is not that complex, and that first meeting is key.
Yeah.
Before you going on any route. And look, we had done this call. The employer wouldn't give them any information, so I didn't even get a chance to look at it preliminary. Look at preliminary data. So I'm going in pitching, not knowing, and I didn't know if I could help them or not. Right? I mean, I did know after they told me some information, but then again, who knows how bad their risk really is because they're with they're with a BUCA, and a BUCA could just manipulate the rates. So we'll see. But obviously the questions are important. Sell the pain, right? Find the pain, push on the pain, sell around the pain. Warren Clef would talk about, and the game is changing, right? We're here to talk about what's happening right now in the market. What you see post-COVID is this. I put a whole deck together, the COVID ball spinning. You've got consolidation over here. You've got claims out of control that they're going to look to recoup. They got lost money from removing orthopedic surgeries. Here's our report showing how much our claims have went up this year. This is what's coming down the pike. The hospital systems are looking for an increase in care, roughly 8 to 12%. And that's all going to be factored in your renewal, and it's not going to go away. Right. And so you're telling this story about how everything is changing because they may think they're here and nothing is new. Sell the change, sell what's going on in the market. because you've got to create some urgency. The other thing is
But you
urgency.
got to remember, involve them in the conversation. So it's like, so hospitals have already published, they're demanding more money from insurance carriers to reimburse them for the higher costs created by inflation. Just like you talked about your business and the supply chain with your various vendors because you're a manufacturer and they're all raising their prices. So if the hospital is demanding more money from the insurance carriers and you buy medical insurance from the insurance carrier, what do you think is going to happen to your rates? See, and you make them think about it and not just listen intellectually, but you try to engage them, and then you'll get them to pay attention at a deeper level.
Yeah, a lot of questions to be asked. Follow the pain.
Hey, look at John Clay. John Clay says, "Hey, Craig's a Wildcat." Okay, for those of you who don't know, UK, University of Kentucky Wildcats, right? So it makes me think, because this is the way my brain works, right? I'm particularly good at this. You got to be able to think on your feet. So John Clay, yeah, Wildcat. So John Clay, you show up in Kentucky where you're at, and you're wearing the colors. And I could have a fun conversation with the right prospect to say the following: Hey, University of Kentucky, have you seen the new NCAA rules about name, image, likeness? They call it NIL. They're paying these kids astronomical amounts of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Some of the teams are sharing it. Some of the teams aren't. If the player can get it, the player can keep it. And so, quarterbacks get more than linemen. You know what I mean? Sure. Yeah. So I just find it's an interesting story. So if your health insurance broker was one of these athletes at the University of Kentucky, now in a perfect world, right, we'd all be able to, if I went to the coach at Kentucky Wildcats basketball team and go, well, now, knowing the guys on your team and how they play and what their level, their perspective level of improvement is, how much would you give them in NIL? And so in the same vein, do you suppose that, coach would say, well, I'd probably not give them that much. Of course, they'd have perfect vision of hindsight. Well, now that you've had your broker and, you've outperformed your peer benchmarks, let's say, and you've paid them $80,000 a year, if that was an athlete on the UK Wildcat basketball team, would you still give them that NIL $80,000 a year allowance? You just have a different kind of conversation about what it is you do.
I like
John
it.
Clay, use it.
I think we'll end it there. I think we gave them enough. We're not going to give you all the questions. Come up with some questions. Come up with some pain questions, some questions that make them uncomfortable. Push the envelope. The guys, we speak with a lot of advisors out there, and the guys that are winning right now are pushing the envelope, and they're following the process, and they're winning business. We had an advisor win 2 cases today. Okay? It's happening. There are guys making money right now and closing new business. Just do the things necessary to make change, because people will make change if you apply enough pressure to the problems that they have to make them realize that the pain is there and you can fix the pain. You're the solution. You're the answer. That being said, thanks for joining us, ladies and gents. Every Thursday, new time, 7 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Happy hunting. No vacations. Get to work.
Time's over. Time to work.
Vacation's over.